Very cool. Are we any step closer to seeing you do some commentary for the UFC? Because I know that's got to be, the sort of the last thing on the bucket list.
I think they're really sick of me asking about it.
It's got to happen. Like, I would think it's been crazy that we've had this sport for as long as we have, and there hasn't been a woman in there doing any commentary, right?
Yeah, and I always have to give a nod to Kathy Long because she did do UFC 1, but she
That's right. Oh yeah.
She didn't say much, and then she didn't really do it after. So we kind of tend to forget about her, but we do love Kathy. That's I guess not a question that I can necessarily answer. They know it's what I eventually want to do. They're very, very aware of it. And I guess my job at this point is just to continue to get the reps in and to build the credibility wherever I can. I think, understandably, they love having well-tenured UFC fighters in that role, and I get it. That makes a lot of sense. But I do think, I'm not asking or not even necessarily proposing that someone in my position would carry a pay-per-view card. That's not what I'm saying. But I do think that someone like myself, or specifically myself, could be an interesting addition to, Brendan Fitzgerald, Paul Felder, and Laura Sanko. What else? What other perspective can I bring to the table? So, like I said, I don't know that it's necessarily on the horizon. Hope it is, and I'm just going to continue to work hard to try to convince them that it's a potentially good idea, and that the fans, I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like, we do these shows to make money, and we do these shows to entertain fans and to connect fans to the sport. And I do think that I can do a good job of that, regardless of whether I fought in the UFC or not. So doing things like Invicta color commentary on 4 hours notice.
That's right. I didn't even ask you about that. How was that?
Yeah, so stuff like that. Like, trust me, it crossed my mind because I'm well aware that if I go out there and sound like an idiot, the UFC watches those shows, and that's gonna, that's gonna derail my potential progress that I may have made in the right direction. So it was a gamble I took, and I'm happy I did. I had a great time doing it. I think it turned out really well, and it's cool to see Kayla Harrison do her thing. And so every opportunity that I can take to do things like that, just chip away at that. And it's part of the reason why I wanted to do the thing with Kevin, because I'm essentially borrowing from his credibility, because he felt like he approached me and said, listen, I really enjoy what you have to say. I think that you have some really interesting thoughts, and I want to create a platform where you and I can both, but especially you, can showcase your analysis. So that was part of the reason for it, because as I know doing these things on a regular basis is a lot of work, way more work than it sounds like at the beginning. Like, oh, I'm just going to do a podcast every week. There's a lot that goes into it. And I was hesitant to commit to yet another thing on my plate. But when it was Kevin, I was like, I've got to do this, right? It felt like someone that could put me a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and that show is called The Odd Couple, by the way. Great idea, great show. I think it's cool, though, because, again, you guys are, giving a different perspectives. Kevin's been involved in combat sports for a very long time. You can bring that perspective, and then we get sort of your perspective as well from not only, your reporting work and commentating work, but also, you train as well. So I think you give sort of that technical analysis as well on top of that, too. So
for sure. I mean, we're an odd couple. I mean, I never would have expected to be doing a podcast with Kevin Iole, so I don't think anybody else would either. But it's kind of perfect like that. You say, I mean, he brings this historical perspective that I always feel like I learned something from him when I talk to him, because he'll start telling these stories from like the 80s, when he was ringside and such and such fight, like, and I love it when he does that. And then, as you say, I can bring the sort of day-to-day, this is what it's like to cut weight, this is what it feels like to be in the gym, or the technical side of things. So I think we're definitely an odd couple, but a good couple.